So Facebook, let me educate you. There was a story about human mice hybrids. It was on Drudge. It was on the top left of Drudge. What? 3 weeks ago?
About that.
3 weeks ago. And if you want to Google it, if you want to follow along at home, HHS allows. Wait a second. HHS human mice hybrids. Google that. You'll bring up the article about how the Health and Human Services is allowing a company to temporarily, I don't know how much longer they'll be able to do it, supposedly, right? Or who all's doing it, but use aborted fetal tissue to create human mouse hybrids. Okay? So first of all, let that sink in. In our culture, we have companies that are creating animal-human hybrids. That's A. Let that sink in. Don't just pass on by that like, oh, that's regular. People have been saying that that's not true for a long time.
That's what I hope I wouldn't have to qualify this. This is not an InfoWars headline, okay? It's
No.
not citing InfoWars or Breitbart or anything else.
And whoever is, I can't remember who did the article, but they are reading from an HHS
Yes,
report.
exactly.
I mean, but that's not even the point of why I bring that up, even though that in itself has a litany of issues. Ethical, moral, and I would say, what would you call it? There's a danger to the human immune system by creating animals that have never existed. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, there's that. But the most important thing is that there are companies that buy aborted fetal tissue. Companies don't get given aborted fetal tissue. They have to buy it. And I assume because of how nobody knows about it, it doesn't seem to be regulated. It's probably very expensive to buy aborted fetal tissue. And the fact that abortions are down.
You remember Planned Parenthood got knocked for this a couple years back, and their claim was we didn't technically violate the law because we weren't making profit off of it. They admitted that they were selling the baby parts. They just said it's not wrong because it's only illegal if you're making a profit off of selling the parts. But they did say, yeah, we're selling baby parts.
And how would we know if a non-profit is making profits?
Right. Well,
I mean, there were investigations. Texas did an investigation. Whatever. I don't know. But the important part of what I'm saying is that there's a market. And it's probably expensive. And I know they're talking about CRISPR. That's related and also weird, but not what I'm talking about.
Right.
And if you notice too now, there are CRISPR humans everywhere now. Other countries have announced that they've created CRISPR humans. But anyway, not important now. I'm focusing on the aborted fetal tissue as a product. Okay? I'm assuming when I read the article that HHS really didn't want them to continue using the fetal tissue. They gave them a time limit of how long they could keep doing this, okay? If they didn't want to continue but did continue, that means there's a lobby for using fetal tissue in the market. So let it sink in too, because I've never heard of an aborted fetal tissue lobby. Have you, Grant?
No.
Have you met an aborted fetal tissue lobbyist?
No.
I haven't. So there's a bunch of things in that article that we didn't know existed or didn't want to think about. There's a market for dead babies. There's a lobby to use dead baby parts. Okay, now tie in, if you're following me, because I'm a kind of a stream of consciousness kind of guy, but this all ties together. If you're following me, New York and Virginia try to pass laws that essentially allow a full-term baby, possibly even out of the womb, to be killed if the mother wants it to. Why do you think? It's because you think to yourself, why would they do that? Are they all just devil-worshipping weirdos? Why do they want to commit infanticide? Because you immediately go to who stands to benefit. And if you can't think of a regular person who stands to benefit, then you start thinking people are evil, right? And they probably are, but that's a misdirection. It's a psychological misdirection because they know you're good people. They know you're moral people. And they know you can't imagine somebody who looks at an aborted fetus and sees dollar signs. You can't imagine that because that sounds so anathema to you.
Let me answer your question with a question. I'll put it to the real news audience this way. Real news audience, if you were put up for a liver transplant, would you rather have a transplant from a 42-week-old infant or a baby, or would you rather have a liver from one that is just now developed that you could maybe, I don't know, do some stem cells? I'm not in the medical community, but would a developed one be better for you? Would it be easier to sell? Is that where you're going?
It's more that people think that the abortion lobby, the Planned Parenthood lobby, is just about protecting women. Okay? And we get caught up in this moral argument of this rights of the individual child versus rights of the individual mother. And hardship on the mother, hardship of the child. And both are arguing from that perspective, from an equal moral perspective, they're protecting an individual, right? Okay? But that is not all there is in the abortion argument, is what I'm trying to say. There are people out there who don't give a damn about the burdens of the mother. They don't care. They're just using that morality, right? They're using faux morality. The Tao Te Ching says that morality is the husk of goodness. Okay, kind of think of it like the scribes and Pharisees. Like people who say, or like Jesus saying, there are many who say, "Lord, Lord," and be turned away. That's what I mean by they're using morality. They're not moral, and a lot of people are. But I'm saying that at the very top, people who pushed for the Virginia bill, the New York bill, who pushed against the Senate bill that didn't pass if a baby's born alive, you have to keep it alive. Why wouldn't they pass that? Okay? I'm trying to help you understand the why of things, okay? The reason that the Democrats didn't vote for that, a lot of them thought they were voting for protecting a woman, okay? But they were probably, and I say probably because I don't know this for sure, they were probably directed to do that by the money-making abortion baby parts lobby. Because if a baby comes out alive and the mother says, I still don't want it, what do you think? They're going to throw it in the meat grinder? No. They're going to put it on ice. They're going to put it on an airplane and get it to the highest bidder. And they may keep it alive the whole time and then kill it right before they need the organs. See, because that makes sense, right? But it would make sense to keep it alive, but let it keep developing.
That's what's so difficult about this conversation, Shyne, is that I would venture to say the vast, overwhelming majority of this country, what we're talking about is so disgusting and so despicable. It's like the 9/11 truthers, okay? A lot of people that don't want to believe in 9/11 conspiracy.
Don't tie what I'm saying right now to that.
What I'm saying is the reason why they don't want to believe is because they don't want to believe for a second that their government has that much power. People don't want to believe for a second that something so grotesque could ever be allowed to happen, let alone be lobbied for, let alone actually have an industry behind it and have a market complex to actually push this forward.
And have people who constantly vote with that lobby. Like who will vote for that lobby even if it makes them look evil. Like it makes them look crazy.
Even if it's true, there are people in this country that will simply not believe that there is an industry behind that kind of evil. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying it doesn't help or hurt your cause. I'm just saying
I'll be like Samuel and say you deserve the government you get. I'll be like Samuel and say you deserve a king because you don't know how to run your own lives. I mean, it's either a representative government that you're a part of, that you're connected with, that you help shape, and that you are responsible for, because nobody wants to feel responsible for the baby parts lobby having a huge effect in our government. Probably as much as the NRA, by the way. As much as the NRA, or think of a lobby like the oil lobby. Think about as big of a lobby as you can think of. This lobby obviously has a tighter grip than any of those because we don't even know it exists. Okay?
But the people that get most frustrated with it, not the most, but the people that get as frustrated as others that I've seen, which really perplexes me, are those that are pro-choice. The pro-choice argument people, when you tell this someone that is pro-choice, they lose their ever-loving minds about, you're a freaking conspiracy theorist, man. There's no way that stuff's going on. There's no such thing as selling baby body parts. There's not an industry behind this. Stop spreading your fear-mongering and all that stuff, because that would piss them off. If that were true, I know it is true, but if that were true in the mind of a pro-choice person, that would dynamically change their mindset on what it is to have an abortion. Because at that point, it's no longer a mass of conjugated cells that they're getting rid of like an appendix. It's actually playing into a trading body parts. It's a business, dude. You're buying into a business at that point.
Okay, well, I'll say this to pro-life people, and you didn't want to believe this because they told you were crazy. But at the highest levels, the people who push for abortions are who you think they are. They are who you are afraid they are. They are. They want live babies for research, for making human-animal hybrids, for giving new livers and hearts to Saudi princes and high-level communist officials. I mean, because we won't put up with that crap in the United States. They don't. Oh, it's very okay. I've given you starting points. You can do the rest because you're grown adults. It's not my job. I'm an electrician. I worked almost 19 hours yesterday. It's not my job to explain to you all of it, okay? But there's an ocean of blood to swim through, okay? But I gave you a starting point where there's an admitted it's an HHS article. It's an article by Health and Human Services. And it was written like you're talking about an oil field in Mexico.
Yeah.
I mean, or something like that. It's very benign. It's very unemotional. It's very like aborted fetal tissue is a commodity.
It's dehumanizing.
It's a commodity. It's ugly, okay? But if you take that and combine it with they won't pass the Alive bill in the Senate. They're shooting for up to birth or infanticide in New York and Virginia and probably in other places. You have to ask why. Whenever you see stuff you don't understand with any of this crap, you have to ask why. And never just go to, they're evil. That is a cop-out. People normally do things because it gets them rich or laid. That's dudes. Okay?
Yeah.
Dudes do stuff because they either get rich or laid. Women do stuff so they can get rich and have security. I mean, and I'm not trying to be sexist. I'm just saying, like, people usually have a reason why they do things. Okay? So when you see something like, why won't they pass a bill in the the Democrats in the U.S. Senate who are already struggling, especially red states Democrats,
right?
Who are struggling. Right. They're struggling in their party about moderate versus extreme. Mm-hmm. And you would think an easy vote for red state Democrats.
Don't kill kids after they're born?
Don't kill kids after they're born. Why would they do that? It's because somebody's making money.
And you also have to take into account, if something feels like a very convenient excuse, it usually is. If they're citing right now, well, hey, we're just worried that Ruth Bader Ginsburg's going to step down, and we're trying to get ahead of this because we know Kavanaugh is going to couple together with Gorsuch, and we're going to criminalize abortion again. Well, that seems like a very convenient excuse. It usually is.
And on the mid-level, that's probably true.
Right.
Because, I mean, I've said to people, like, why is this happening? And they have a very logical response. Well, Kentucky just passed a heartbeat bill.
Tennessee just passed a heartbeat bill, right?
Well, no, not signed by the governor.
In the House, though. I mean,
right. It's signed by the governor in Kentucky. It's a heartbeat bill. It's signed by the governor. So they're like, and they see that people who are pro-choice, even people who are anti-third trimester, okay, which most Americans are, by the way, even people who are anti-third trimester say that heartbeat bills are way too extreme. Right. They see that as extreme, where, people who are pro-life think of infanticide as extreme.
Sure.
And I think the good news is we're going to end in like maybe a decade with a window, maybe not a date, but a window of this is when viability starts.
It still would be arbitrary, though.
It would be arbitrary. And what sucks about it, the reason we haven't gotten there yet, because both sides would feel like they lose.
Absolutely.
If
you're compromising on abortion, both sides are going to lose.
Pro-life people would say it's conception, and if it's not illegal after conception, we lose.
Yeah.
If pro-choice people say you can't do it, right up until it comes out of the... If you say viability is before it comes out of the vaginal canal, then they would say, I lost.
Right.
So, but, the court case is about the word viability is used, right? The Casey case?
Yeah.
Okay? So I think the courts wisely did that because the science wasn't there on what viability was at the time.
Which is going to screw Democrats in the long run, though, but yeah.
But I'm saying that we are there with the science. But the law hasn't followed culture yet because it's a losing...
Right, it never does, yeah.
It's a losing issue for both parties if you define viability. If a Republican says viability is at 20 weeks, he's probably not going to win.
Right.
If a Democrat says viability is at 20 weeks, they're probably not going to win.
Right.
Or not be in long.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's a losing issue. But I still think, with the number of abortions is decreasing. The people who are about to all be voting age are the most conservative generation since World War II.
That's right, yeah.
Who understand that if you don't want a kid, you don't have unprotected sex. They get that. Yeah. Because their older brothers and sisters and older cousins and uncles and aunts or all a bunch of people in our generation are a bunch of irresponsible losers.
And they've seen how it's dicked up their lives.
Yeah,
right?
they're a bunch of irresponsible losers who don't think they have to pay for any consequences for their actions. So I think we're going in a good direction. But that's not the point. The point is that there are people out there making money off abortions. That it's not just a moral argument. It's a dollar argument. And the other thing that's sidebar is nobody in our culture said it was okay to make human-animal hybrids. And we didn't say it was okay as a culture to use our own children's body parts to do it. Nobody said, we never had a debate about that.
No.
The stem cell research thing with George W. Bush is the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Where we actually kind of had a debate. And they were basically told we'd be left behind. But, I don't want to go into a world with human mice and human cow and human emu hybrids or whatever, human pig hybrids. I don't want to live in that world.
But we're already there, Shyne. And look, the reason why we never had that conversation is because China simply would not have that conversation. And because China's a communist government, they were just doing it anyways.
But what advantages are they getting?
What I'm saying is now we're stuck in a situation where China has surpassed us in the sciences, and U.S. is looking at this being like, F, dude, what do we do now? It's already here. The technology is already in the world.
But what is this? Sometimes I have a problem. And I say, the term that Constitution isn't a suicide pact?
Mm-hmm.
Well, neither is science.
No.
I mean, there's all kinds of weird stuff we could do in labs.
That we can do, sure.
But should we?
The Western Eastern culture never asked that should we question. They never.
But what
they
advantages?
Never asked the should we question.
The dangers of combining human DNA and animal DNA in weird cocktails, like hundreds of different kinds of animals' DNA. In human DNA, the dangers are so high. And the other thing is that there's no lobby. There's human rights activists and there's animal rights activists. It's immoral to create these possibly conscious beings, who have no protections.
But here's my thing.
No protections and are chopped up. It's immoral.
But a large part of your equation in the utilitarian way out, the utilitarian aspect of you saying...
Well, I'm not a utilitarian.
No, I know you're not, but what I'm saying, part of that equation for you is that you're positing some sense of value to a conscious being. Eastern culture doesn't do that at all.
Well, I understand
They don't posit any sense of value at all to consciousness. Yeah. At all. So when they're weighing out the utilitarian side of
with Christianity in the 800s,
right?
And then the Muslims stopped us, I'm going to be honest. They just never got the everything has the spark of the divine. That's not, I used to be really into ancient Chinese literature. Grant can attest to this. I was really big into Taoism and Confucianism, and there's not everything is valuable just because, every human's valuable just because it's alive. Chinese have often viewed each other as disposable.
And John, let me clarify my statements here. I'm not saying they've surpassed this yet, either by way of technology
but
or
what
data
is surpassing
or...
even?
Yeah, I know. What I mean, though, is the sense... And I
sound like that dude from the Chelsea Clinton.
I get this commentary from my brother, who, like I always say, is a scientist working up in Virginia right now. What he says the reason why they've surpassed is because they are willing to do things that we are unwilling to do. So when Chinese match us in data equivalency and technology and everything else, they will have a skip jump the following day to do things. When they have the scopes that we have, when they have the microscopes that we have, when we have all the computers that whatever, if U.S. were to become China right now, China would be far above what we are because they're willing to do what we're not willing to do. I guess that's what I mean by China surpassed us. And frankly speaking, China's putting together CRISPR babies. Nobody in the United States is talking about United States scientists doing that. Now, he screwed up horribly. Yeah, he took away the HIV virus. The kid's going to die from the flu.
Well, what's really weird, Grant, is if they did in the Chinese government where things are very controlled and making the country look bad is a capital offense, okay? How many people had to die before they announced that first kid?
Oh, dude.
How many people do you think died of weird diseases and autoimmune reactions? How many kids were grown in a lab and died?
I have no idea.
So my question is,
they didn't even tell the mother they were doing it. They didn't even tell the mother.
If being as good of China has a price like that, I'd say let them go.
Hell yeah.
Let them go.
Let them go, dude.
Let them kill each other and experiment on each other. If we want basically a Nazi state that's killing its own citizens instead of ethnic Jews, okay? Let them be there or kill them. But I'm not going to copy a bunch of freaking Nazis.
I'm totally with that.
And I'm not going to copy a bunch of freaking commies, okay? Because, like, when you look at our system, the value is not in the wealth. Other countries have had wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Other civilizations have had wealth, probably in proportion higher than ours to the rest of the world. When you think of things like Rome and Genghis Khan and that African emperor who pretty much had a monopoly on salt worldwide, who was considered to be the richest man in the world. Like, wealth, that's not necessarily the value of our civilization. The value, when you really break it down, you cut everything away, the value that has created all the other good things is that we believe that individuals have the spark of the divine.
Yes, exactly.
That allows for us to have First Amendment protection, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, your right to. We give murderers, people we know have murdered lots of people, the benefit of the doubt.
So you could burn America. You can burn America to the ground, and we will rise like a phoenix from the ashes every single time, solely because of that virtue.
Just because of that virtue, and it is when we lose that, all other things go.
That's right.
All other things go, and they will fall quickly. I mean, and it's already kind of starting to happen. People are losing that idea that everyone is important just because they're alive. We're losing that. That is the cultural battle lines right now, is everyone is valuable just because they're alive. If we lose that, it's all over. And I don't want to lose that in the name of science. I don't want to lose that in the name of the Constitution. I don't want to lose that in the name of any religion.
Right.
I don't want to lose that in the name of wealth, because everything that is good will go away.
That's right.
You know?
Hey, I got to end it there, Facebook. I got an interview to get to. Y'all are the best, by the way. I might club just this part up and put it on Facebook for y'all. I mean, YouTube for y'all to check later. Love y'all. Talk to you soon.
Hey, let me show you what I got real quick. Hold on. Golly, I got to be there.